Cool intro sound.
Alright, how's it going guys? Alpha YJ back at it again, and today I'm bringing you guys something a little bit different, and this is somewhat of a mix between theory and tips and tricks and discussion and all that kind of stuff, and it's regarding DDD against the new 2019 promos. I know a lot of people on the channel here are very big fans of DDD because that video is what popped off most on my channel, and I promise I'll bring you guys a new profile for DDD, but the problem was that when I released that video, following that, there was no real product or cards that came out that really changed up the deck that much to the point where it warranted any new changes. Only card really was something like Apollo, and again, I apologize for the proxy, but the only real card that we could really abuse was something like Apollo because, you know, obviously we span boards, so we can make something like Apollo. But the problem following that was that not too long after, these bad boys came out, and of course I didn't include Dimension Shifter. Dimension Shifter is a little bit of an odd case because only Thunder Dragon plays it, and the only real way to mitigate it is if you play Call by the Grave. So we're really focusing on these two because these are the most popular ones, these are the most deadly, and these are the combo deck killers. And of course, being a combo deck, we suffered a lot. Not to mention that DDD was already kind of struggling to keep its head above water, but then these cards came out and just like shoved it down to the bottom of the ocean. So right now what we're trying to do is figure out some ideas of how we can change our playstyle or adapt the deck to better cater towards these cards. Of course, there's a lot of other ways we can like change up the situation where we can just completely change the playstyle of the deck, where we can either play under 5 summons and or just play with a bunch of back row, something like controlled DDD. That's also a hint as to what one of the next DD profiles is going to be, one of the variants. There's many ways to play this deck. OTK version can literally use these two cards right here, which is fantastic, or just back row control, which plays around these two really well. But I know that we all love combo DDD near and dear to our heart, because I know I do. So today I wanted to bring a video to you guys that discusses ways we can play through these two cards. And these aren't foolproof, these are just theories, and hopefully as a community we can maybe think of some ways to play through these cards even better. But these are going to be the foundations to the principles of the next DD profile, where we're going to try to make a combo DD profile where we can play through these cards really easily. So without further ado, let's just get right into some of the discussion. And the first one we're going to discuss is Nibiru, the dreaded Nibiru, which is honestly repulsive of a card. I've gotten hit with the main deck Nibiru game 1 plenty of times, and I am still triggered by it. So one thing we can do is, similar to Cyber Dragon or Cyber Dragon Orcus, we will threaten the Nibiru to be dead by the 4th/5th summon. And what I mean by that is, let's rewind back to one of our old combos. This is the combo I showed you guys in the previous DD profile, and if you haven't checked it out, I recommend checking it out because you guys can get a better idea of how this works, and I'll just be cutting corners in the midst of it. So let's say we use a turbo card, let's say we use Dragon Shrine, we got Dark Worm out, or this could be Curtain Raiser, you guys know my list. And you normal Kepler, these are 2 summons. You go off into your Electromite. Electromite does all your shenanigans with the cards you've searched off, drawn off, blah blah blah, and you'll basically have these guys back in scale. If you guys know the combo, you guys already know. This could also be gauge 0, but you know, it doesn't really matter in this situation because only things we pendulum summoning are the 2 level 8s, and from here on, this was our 3rd summon, 4th summon, 5th summon. Now Nibiru is live for them. Now we have some options and they have some options. We have the option of using Thomas right here to pop our Kepler and go right into our Doom King and Doom King into the old Giant Trainer. But this is the way the combo worked previously, where we can draw a lot of cards, enable our combos, but now we have to play a little bit differently. And here's what I suggest. We have the option right now of going into Apollo. And they even know we have the option of going into Apollo because 2 monsters and a Link 2. If we do the math, you know, that makes it Apollo. So they're expecting us to drop Apollo right now. So they're probably gonna Nibiru us right now. But here's what I say is gonna be a little bit different, because they might let it go through only for 1 or 2 reasons. Maybe they have Imperm plus Nibiru, which means that Apollo is gonna be dead and we're just gonna lose even more trying to extend past that. So what I recommend is going into a rank 8. I would personally drop rank 8 over Apollo anyways, even under the assumption that they have Nibiru and nothing else. And the reason I say that is because, and it can be Lancelot, it can be Photon Lord, both of them work in this situation against Nibiru. But regardless, if they have the Imperm that Nibiru is going through regardless, and we're gonna eat that Nibiru. So what's gonna happen is, let's say we bring a Fortune Lord or Lancelot, doesn't matter. The reason why I say rank 8 over Apollo is when we go right into Apollo, our pendulum monsters will go back to our extra deck, and we won't be able to pendulum summon again, obviously. But with this, if they imprint Nibiru you, all these will go to the grave, and we can still play with these cards in our graveyard because they were attached to Nixie's monster. They will go to the graveyard, and we can still have materials to use in the graveyard for our combos and play through what happened. So that's the reason why I personally prefer making that rank 8 over Apollo in this situation, because it will still accomplish the same thing where we can negate and play through that Nibiru, or if they happen to have the Nibiru / imprint, which isn't impossible, we still play with the cards. Similar to that fashion, if we have Electromite and or something, just arrows. Let's just say we have arrows. Another monster we can bring out is DD Wave High King Caesar. High King Caesar is good in the fact that it's, first of all, no one knows about this card at all. When a spell / trap card or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, right? You can detach with material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do destroy that card, then, you know, stats, blah, blah, blah. Also, it floats into a contract, by the way. So what happens is, let's say we make arrows, right? These arrows could be literally anything you want, preferably 2 arrows, because at that point, all we need is something like a simple 2-card combo of Swirl Slime / Necro Slime. Obviously, we can make double Genghis and go into the High King Caesar. This mitigates the fact that they have Nibiru, but the plus side is, if they have that Nibiru / Imperm again, what happens is, these will all get sent away. But Wave King Caesar will be live to search as a dark contract. That dark contract can either be a swamp or anything like that, right? So we're making the best out of a worse situation where we're losing cards, but we're still gaining cards back. And of course, we have triple DD monsters in the grave to use with the rest of our cards in our hand. Following with Caesar, this could warrant other potential techs into the main deck where we can play things that are a bit unorthodox but can still promote the fact that we can make Caesar really early on. So something like, I know people, okay, yeah, you know what? Proud Ogre. This card no one knows about because why would you ever play this card except for the fact that it's a level 6 DD monster. I believe Nikolai is also a level 6, but I don't recall its effects being that good in the first place. At least this card at least has some, you know, level of playability to some level of extent. Not the best, not the worst. But the fact is we can Swirl Slime, summon it out. We can recur it off of our many recursion effects and basically harm make that Wave King Caesar pretty early on. So, you know, something like a tech like this can be warranted given the situation. Depends how our deck is going to be catered, but I'm just bringing it out there where we can tech some weird non-play DD monster just for the sake of playing through that monster over there. And following that, we have Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is a little bit tricky only because our deck as combo decks don't really run too many ways of mitigating spells / traps or whatever. We don't have many ways of stopping these kind of cards from the back row because we don't run, like, you know, stuff like Judgment, for example, right? It'd be cool to tech in cards like the Zephyras or etc., but that in itself is pretty difficult. So I'm just going to showcase a really simple way of stopping this card, and we probably already know this tip and trick, but I want to showcase it to you guys through what DD can do. So you know what, let's say for example we make an Apollo somehow. This can be a Zephyr Metaltron like in the previous video, but I'm just going to show out Apollo just because I want to reinforce the idea. Let's say like this board is completely bonkers, you know, whatever. Look at all these negates. This could be another rank 8, whatever. And you're like, oh, look how powerful this board is, XD. But then they're like, oh, Dark Ruler, and you're like, okay, game 2. But what I'm saying is, what happens is, in our combo, we usually search a gate. Thing with searching out gate is sometimes we hard draw it, but sometimes there are times when we want to search this card, and we already know the tip and trick where when they activate Dark Ruler No More, we can respond with a spell or trap, and if we have something like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, we can negate that Dark Ruler No More, and our board is saved. This works on that similar principle, considering that this guy is basically Abyss for spells and traps. You know, the great thing about him, obviously, is that he targets a face-up spell or trap on the field and negates it. So what obviously happens is to activate Dark Ruler No More, we can just activate Witch in general, and we can use Siegfried to negate that Dark Ruler that's still on the field, and our board is saved. We still keep all our negates. Everything's great. So that's probably the best way for the combo variant of DD to play through Dark Ruler is I'd say we have to tech in the 1 or 2 or 3 or just type in the witch or any other trap card. But the fact is that this is searchable. This comes up a lot more often than the other dark contract trap cards. So I say taking that one card in at least games maybe 2 and 3 when you know this card is going to definitely be sticking its head around is a good option for us. But other than that, there's not too many other ways to play around this card unless we adapt our entire main deck towards it. But this is a cool, neat way we can just play through it with our main deck. And following that, guys, I do have a special treat, and we're gonna go and open up not only some manga. So right here we have 5Ds. This one should come with Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, and of course we got the one and only Zero King Laplace. So this card is, in my opinion, pretty good actually. He's just like, he recurs through the extra deck from the Pendulum Zone, and he's like an unstoppable like beater. So I'll try not to abuse him in many profiles because one, he's not accessible to everybody, but I will try my best to squeeze him in for those who do play him. And of course I'll just showcase like alternatives to playing that card instead of using him exactly, so everyone can kind of get the best out of each profile. But you know what, I just want to open up these two for you guys, showcase the promos. So let's go. Let's get that out of there. So I don't even know where this card is supposed to be. Oh, and there it is, fellas. That Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. This card is actually pretty good, not gonna lie. Like, it depends on the format, of course. I remember when Thunder Dragons first came out, this was seeing a little bit of play, especially in decks that can make it, you know, like pendulums or whatever. Very cool card. And let's not dilly-dally anymore and get to the main boy itself. Oh, guys, I'm so ready for this. Ah! I can't believe I finally got a copy of this guy. I've been looking for this guy everywhere, and finally. Look at it. That is one cool looking boy, I'm not gonna lie. I can't wait for the rest of the kings, especially the new Reiji one. That card is gonna change up the playstyle of this deck very much so for the better, and I cannot wait for that to come out. But this card is also pretty fantastic in and of itself. And with that said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I know it's been a while since I've released any DD content out for you guys, but trust me, there's been a lot of changes to the game in regards to these bad boys over here, so we had to sit down and think a lot. I'll try to bring out a new combo variant for the deck as soon as possible, but I can also try to bring out some other versions of the deck where it's OTK or control, etc, etc. But in the meantime, I hope this will suffice in some way and give you guys ideas on how to play against the promos. Honestly, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys later.